Hello everyone, my name is Lalit Soni and you are watching Polity This Week by Drishti IAS. In this episode, we'll be discussing certain political development which has happened in the last week. So we'll try to understand the reason behind that and we'll see how it is important for our examination. So let's start our discussion. We'll be discussing 4 topics today. So here we'll be starting with the Supreme Court on Places of Worship Act. In the last session also we have talked about the Places of Worship Act, but reason was altogether different thing. Last time we have talked because there was this issue with respect to the Ajmer Dargah, Khwaja Moinuddin Chisti's Dargah when we are talking about. So with respect to that, there was some kind of dispute which has aroused, and that is why Places of Worship Act was in news. Before that also, when we are talking about the Jama Masjid in Sambal in UP, because of which also this particular act has found its way in the news. So considering that, this is important for you this year. And when we are talking about the today's discussion, that will be revolving around the observation made by Supreme Court in 2024 December, or you can say on the 12th December 2024, Supreme Court has made some observation with respect to the Places of Worship Act. So that is why we will be talking about that. Okay. Moving further, motion to remove High Court judge. Recently, there was this Allahabad High Court judge who has made some advocating remark on you can say UCC or Uniform Civil Code. Considering that Rajya Sabha members has decided to go for the removal motion over here. When we are talking about the initiating a removal proceeding, there is a definite number of MPs which are required for the support of the notice or the motion. So out of 50 such members requirement, 38 has signed the notice. So that is why we will be talking about this procedure to remove the High Court judge, okay, which has been recently initiated in Rajya Sabha. Now moving further, motion to impeach Vice President, okay, because of some kind of allegation which has been put by the opposition. The opposition has thought about going to put forward a motion with respect to the impeachment or the removal of the Vice President, okay. So when we talk about Vice President, that is basically your Rajya Sabha's chairman. Okay, so we will be talking about the removal procedure of Rajya Sabha's chairman or the Vice President, because this is the same individual. So we'll be looking into it. Okay. Then cabinet clears one nation, one election. We have talked about one nation, one election earlier, but this time we'll be talking about different aspects over here. Because last time when we are talking about the one nation, one elections or the simultaneous elections, we have talked about what it is. Okay. This time we'll be seeing that if we are looking at the implementation, so how cabinet has thought about it, or the high level committee which was established under the chairmanship of former President Ramnath Kovind. So what recommendation he has given. So we'll be talking about that. Okay. So let's start our discussion. Before that, I would like to tell you that the English medium batch for the GS Foundation, ISGS Foundation at our Noida center has started. Admissions are open. Okay. And if you want more information, you can call on this number, that is 9311406440. Other than that, we are having these courses, UPSC GS Foundation courses, which are starting on different centers over here. So at Prayagraj from the 2nd of January 2025, we are starting a batch for Hindi as well as English medium. For Hindi medium, timing is 6 p.m. For English medium, that is 5:30 p.m. Then for Lucknow, we have a batch which is starting on 23rd December 2024 for both Hindi and English medium. Timing is 11:30 a.m. And at Karol Bagh, 23rd December 2024, we are starting an English medium batch at 8 a.m. So for you can say joining these courses or to getting enrolled, you can directly visit the centers or you can call on the number which is given over here. Okay. So let's move forward and start our discussion. If you have not subscribed the channel, please subscribe it. We have talked about the Sambhav 2025. Again, I would like to tell you that this is an open for all aspirant initiative at Drishti IAS website, wherein we are going for the integrated preparation for prelims as well as mains. So here 10 daily prelims practice question will be given to you and 2 daily mains practice questions will be given to you. With respect to the prelims practice, you will be able to track your real-time ranking over here. So that will be beneficial for you. So you can explore this initiative at our website. Okay. Now let's move further and start with the first article which is there for our discussion. Before that, as usual, we will be discussing the practice question which was given to you in the previous session. Okay. So let's see the question number 1. Under which initiative is the National Cyber Crime Reporting Portal launched? Options are given. So option B is your right answer. That is I4C, Indian Cyber Crime Coordination Center. Okay. So and moving further, second question is, what does the Place of Worship Special Provision Act 1991 prevents? The conversion of places of worship between different religious denominations, religious pilgrimages, opening new religious places of worship, religious education in the places of worship. Option A is your right answer over here. That when we are talking about the Places of Worship Act 1991, it put a bar on the conversion of the nature of the place of worship. What is the legal minimum age for the marriage for a man as per the Prohibition of Child Marriage Act 2006? They are talking about men, so age is here, that is 21 years. Okay. Last question is, which article of the Indian Constitution empowers the president to summon each house of the parliament? That is article 84, 85, 86, 87. So article 85 is your answer. Option B would be your correct answer over here. Now let's start with the first article, that is Places of Worship Act 1991. What Supreme Court has stopped and why? Okay. So when this particular act, when we are talking about the Places of Worship Act 1991, the constitutional validity of this particular act has been challenged in 2020, okay, in front of the Supreme Court. And after that, in 2022, there was this observation which was made by the then CGI, that is D.Y. Chandrachud, that he has said that we cannot convert a places of nature of the place of worship, but we can ascertain it. Okay, on the basis of which there are various state or you can say district courts or the you can say high courts. They have taken these issues of the disputes which are there with respect to the places of worship, and then they have gone for the various surveys, etc. You must have heard about the Gyanvapi issue. You must have recently heard about the Sambal issue as well. So considering that, there are various surveys which has started to taking place, and because of which Supreme Court has taken the cognizance, and Supreme Court has said that till the time we decide on this Places of Worship Act 1991 and its constitutional validity, no court will be taking up the issues with respect to the dispute of the state disputes with respect to the status of places of worship. Okay, so basically that is what Supreme Court has given the direction, or the observation has been made by the Supreme Court. So we'll be talking about that. Okay, so let's see. The act declares that the religious character of a place of worship shall continue to be the same as it was on 15th of August 1947. Now we are talking about the provisions of the act. Okay, so simply speaking, this act bars the conversion of a place of worship after August 15, 1947. Whatever was the status which was on this particular date, you cannot change that status. Okay, now it says that no person shall convert any place of worship of any religious denomination into one of the different denomination of the section. Okay, so you cannot change the character of or the status of a place of worship. This act excludes the Ayodhya Ram Janmabhoomi dispute because that was already at that point of time under the litigation. So that is why that was made an exception. Now what happens is that in 2019, in the Ayodhya case, they have mentioned this particular act. Okay, they have mentioned that this is the one of the pillar of the constitutional secularism. Okay, after that in 2020, this particular act was challenged. Okay, this was challenged on the basis of two grounds, that it bars the judicial review because they are saying that you cannot go for the conversion, and that is why you cannot go to the court as well. Okay, so that is one thing, that you cannot go for the judicial review, so that is barred by this Places of Worship Act 1991. Second thing is they have gone for the date, that is 15th of August 1947, that as a cutoff date. Okay, now it was challenged that this is a arbitrary cutoff date. There is no rationale which is given behind it. Okay, so on the basis of these two factors, this particular act has been challenged. Here you can see the petitioners have challenged the law on the basis of two main grounds. One is that it takes away the power of judicial review. That is one thing. Second thing is that it is prohibiting the fresh claims in the court. Okay, and the third thing over here is that they have picked a cutoff date, that is 15th of August 1947, and that is basically arbitrary because when we are talking about the 15th August 1947, that is the date on which we got our independence, but it does not have any kind of religious significance. Okay, so for you can say act which is talking about the places of worship or the places of religious importance, so why this cutoff date has been taken? Okay, so that is what the petitioner has argued. Okay, so that is why this particular act was challenged. Now let's see what observations are there when we are talking about the Ayodhya judgment and its relevance. So here you can see, in Ayodhya Ram Bhoomi verdict 2019, the Supreme Court deemed the 1991 Act as a fundamental pillar of the constitutional secularism. They have said that it is important for maintaining the harmony in the society. Okay, so for the constitutional secularism, they have said that it is important, it is a fundamental pillar. Even they have said that since constitutional secularism is part of your basic structure, that is why it is a fundamental pillar of it. Okay, then in 2022, D.Y. Chandrachud has made an observation in a particular case that they have orally observed that ascertaining the religious character of a place may not be necessarily violating the section 3 and 4 of the act. Section 3 and 4 of the act is barring the conversion of a place of worship into different religious denomination. So they have said that yes, conversion is prohibited, but ascertaining nature is not. Basically they are saying that if place of worship A is belonging to a particular community X or Y, okay, we cannot change. If there is a place of worship on, let's say, on 15th of August 1947, the nature of place of worship A was of a religious denomination of X community, okay, so you cannot change it to Y. But the thing is, whether it was of X or Y, that can be decided by the court. That was said or observed in the 2022 decision by the then CGI, okay, because of which what happens is that after this particular observation, there are various cases which has been allowed in the court. You must have talked about, seen about the Gyanvapi mosque survey, and you must have recently seen about the Sambal issue in UP. So that was because of this particular observation, okay. These observations indirectly allowed the district court to entertain civil suit questioning the religious characteristics of the sites such as Gyanvapi mosque, okay, because of which there are various disputes which came in front of the court. Now 2024, if we talk about, when we are talking about the recent judgment, you can say 2024 observation by Supreme Court, okay. So here the current batch emphasizes that the lower court cannot contradict the Ayodhya judgment. In 2019 we have said that it is the fundamental pillar of the constitutional secularism, so you cannot violate it, you cannot overrule that particular thing. So here they have said that the lower courts cannot contradict the Ayodhya judgment, which upheld the act as the part of basic structure of the constitution, okay. Now civil courts cannot overstep the constitutional principle set by the Supreme Court in Ayodhya judgment, reiterating that the act enforces the secularism and the preserve communal harmony. Now considering that now lower courts cannot pass any order, okay, so here lower courts are now restrained from passing any order that could undermine the intent of the 1991 act, including the survey or the inquiries into the religious characteristics of the disputed site. So basically now court has said that you cannot pass an order till we are deciding on the matter with respect to the constitutional validity of places of worship act. Now the challenge before the court right now is that how to decide. They will be deciding on the constitutional validity of the places of worship act, okay. As I told you, in 2020 the constitutional validity of the places of worship act has been challenged. Now the challenge before the court is to determining whether this particular act is constitutionally valid or not. Till then lower courts cannot go for passing any order with respect to the disputed sites, or they cannot entertain a fresh suit as well, okay. So that is the issue which we have discussed right now. Now moving further to the next one, that is basically our motion to impeach Allahabad High Court judge. As I told you, issue I have already told you that there was this judge of Allahabad High Court. He has made a remark on UCC, and ultimately because of which the opposition has considered that they will be going for the removal motion in the Rajya Sabha, okay. Now here we will be discussing that what is the procedure, what are the legal provisions which are there for the removal of a judge. Now if we talk about the judges, we are generally talking about the judges of Supreme Court and High Court. When we talk about the judges of Supreme Court, Article 124 clause 4 is talking about that. When we talk about High Court, that is Article 218, okay. So that is there in the Constitution. Other than that, there is this act, that is Judges Inquiry Act 1968. Now Judges Inquiry Act 1968 is the act under which the procedure is written properly, okay. So let's see. Judges of Supreme Court and the High Court can be removed by impeachment like procedure. Again, impeachment like procedure. When we are talking about the removal of president, we have the impeachment procedure. Other than that, there are certain positions for which we use the impeachment like procedures, okay. Only on two grounds. There are only two grounds which are given under the Article 124 clause 4, that is proven misbehavior and incapacity. Proven misbehavior means that there are certain things which you cannot do, okay, like actions undermining the dignity, integrity or the impartiality of the judiciary. If you do something like that, that will be considered as the proven misbehavior. Again, these terms are not defined in the constitution, they are just written in the constitution, they are just mentioned in the constitution. Proved misbehavior and incapacity definition is not given, these are just interpretations. Okay, moving further, incapacity, physical or the mental incapacity rendering a duty of a judge. Okay, if a person who is physically or mentally not capable, okay, so in that case also he can be removed. So these are the two grounds, proven misbehavior and the incapacity. Okay, the same provision are applying to the High Court under Article 218 of the Indian Constitution. Other than that, procedure is governed by the Judges Inquiry Act 1968, which I have already mentioned over here. Okay, now coming to the procedure. Now, ground for the removal we have seen, there is one, proven misbehavior. Then second is incapacity. So these are the two grounds on which a judge can be removed. Okay. Now initiating the removal procedure. Now when we are talking about the removal of judges, that can be initiated in Rajya Sabha or in Lok Sabha. Now if you are initiating the procedure in the Rajya Sabha, you will be requiring support of 50 MPs or the signature of 50 MPs for the, you can say, that particular motion. Okay. Then coming to the Lok Sabha, you will be requiring sign of 100 MPs. Okay. Once you have got that particular support, now you will be able to put that motion in front of the chair of the house. Chair in the case of Rajya Sabha is your chairman. In case of Lok Sabha, that is speaker. So you will be putting these in front of the chair of the house. Now you have put this particular motion in the front of the chair of the house. Then the chair of the house will, you can say, devise a you can say committee. Okay. So a special committee will be devised for the investigation into the allegations. Okay. Now committee will look into the matter. If committee thinks that yes, there is some kind of you can say there is a significance in the allegations which are made by the MPs over here. Okay, in that case, proceedings will go further. If they think that there is no such thing which has happened or the judge is not guilty prima facie, in that case the proceedings will be dropped. Okay, but if they find that yes, judge is guilty, in that case this particular procedure will go further and they will go for the discussion and voting in the parliament. Discussion and the voting in the parliament, that means that now they will decide to vote in the parliament. Okay, now you have to go for the separate voting in Lok Sabha as well as in Rajya Sabha. Let's say if in Rajya Sabha initiation was done, so first you will be voting in Rajya Sabha, then after passing from the Rajya Sabha, it will be sent to the Lok Sabha and Lok Sabha will pass it, and after that you have to send it to the president, and by the presidential order there will be a removal. Okay, because president is only authority which is authorized to remove a judge. Okay, so after the motion is passed in both Lok Sabha as well as in Rajya Sabha, you will be sending it to the president and president will be removing the judge by a presidential order. Now one thing over here is important, that is basically what kind of majority you will be requiring over here. Okay, now when we are talking about the voting in the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, so be it Lok Sabha or be it Rajya Sabha, there is a special majority which is required. Okay, that is half of the, or you can say specific terms would be majority of total membership. Okay, and second is 2/3 of the members present and voting. Okay, so these are the you can say majorities which are required, be it Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha. You have to get this majority, and then when it is passed from one house, it will be sent to the another house, and when it is passed from both the house, it will be sent to the president, and president will be removing the judge by a means of the presidential order. Okay, so this is the procedure for the removal of the judge in India, be it a judge of Supreme Court or of High Court. As of now, there are 6 attempts which has been done for the removal of the judges, but till now none of them has been successful. Okay, now let's move further. Here you can see the procedure is given. Initiation, as I told you, you will be needing support of 100 MPs in Lok Sabha, 50 in Rajya Sabha. Other than that, there will be an inquiry committee which will be constituted by the speaker or the chairman of the house. Okay, and who will be there in the committee? So there are 3 persons. One is Chief Justice of India, second will be the Chief Justice of High Court, and a distinguished jurist which will be nominated by the chair of the house. Okay, so these 3 people will be there in the inquiry committee. Okay, then after the results of the inquiry committees are out, you will be going for the voting, okay, voting in the parliament, there are two kind of majorities which are required here. Majority of the total membership of the house, and then 2/3 of the majority of members present and voting. After that, there will be a presidential order through which you will be removing the judge. Okay, so that is about the removal procedure of a judge in India. Okay, I hope that is clear. Now let's move further to the next one, that is opposition moves no confidence motion against Rajya Sabha chairman. When we are talking about the Rajya Sabha chair, that is Jagdeep Dhankar, recently there was some allegation which has been put forward by the opposition with respect to the impartiality, okay, or in the way he has conducted the proceedings of the house. Considering that the you can say opposition in Rajya Sabha has decided to move a motion for the removal, okay. But the thing is, this is just a political gesture, because when we are talking about the removal, you will be requiring a majority, okay, you will be requiring a number, but opposition does not have that kind of number. This is just a way to put forward your you can say protest, okay. So that is the proceeding which has been talked about in Rajya Sabha. So we will be talking about the removal of Rajya Sabha chair or the vice president. Now, why we are saying that the removal of the Rajya Sabha chair and the vice president? So basically, vice president is the ex officio chairman of Rajya Sabha. Okay, these two members or these two people are one individual only. So that is why removal will be same. Okay, so let's see. Under Article 64 of the Constitution of India, Vice President shall be ex officio chairman of Council of State, that is basically Rajya Sabha. Since the Vice President and Rajya Sabha chairman must be the same individual under Article 64, that is why the process of their removal is bound to be same, and that is given under Article 67 of the Indian Constitution. Okay. Under this provision, Vice President shall hold the office for a term of 5 years from the date on which he has entered upon his office. Okay, so term is basically 5 years. Now, unless the vice president resigns, he can resign by writing a letter to president, or he is being removed by the office. Okay, so here, unless the vice president resigns by sending a letter to president, or is being removed from the office by the, you can say, motion of impeachment or impeachment like proceedings. Okay, so that is about the removal thing. Here you can see, when we talk about the requirements here, so you can see there is a requirement of a notice of 14 days. Okay, so let's see. Requirement for the removal or the impeachment of the vice president are provided under Article 67 clause B. It states that the vice president may be removed if a majority of all the then member of the council. Okay, when we are talking about the council here, we are talking about Rajya Sabha basically. So they are saying that majority of the all then members. Okay, so that is basically total members minus the vacancy. Okay, so basically all then majority of all then members will be considered for the removal. Okay, must then be agreed to by the House of People. Agreed to by the House of People, that is Lok Sabha. This is kind of vague term which has been used over here, but later on when we are talking about the discussions which were going on in the Constituent Assembly, Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar has made it clear. We will be seeing what is the meaning of agreed to by the House of People. So that is basically, you know, simple majority. Simple majority in Lok Sabha. When we are talking about the council, that is Rajya Sabha, that is effective majority. Effective majority of all the then members. Okay. Under this provision, no resolution shall be moved unless at least 14 days notice has been given for the intention of removal. Okay. So I have already told you that 14 days you can say notice is compulsory over here. Now let's see ambiguities in Article 67. As I told you that there is this term which has been mentioned, that is agreed to. Now this term is basically ambiguous over here, and H.V. Kamath in the Constituent Assembly, he has pointed out that the requirement for the Rajya Sabha resolution to be agreed to by Lok Sabha is so delightfully vague, not even specifying whether the resolution must be passed by a majority or not. So Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar over here, he has clarified that the Rajya Sabha's resolution needs a majority of all the current members, that is basically your effective majority. Okay, and Lok Sabha's agreement requires a simple majority of the present and voting. Okay, so that is about the majorities which is required for the removal. Okay, till now there is no vice president which has been removed, so that is why we cannot say that such you can say any precedent is there or not. When we are talking about the speakers, so for them there were various incidences wherein the motion has been put into the parliament, but for the Rajya Sabha chairman this is the first time. Okay, so we do not have precedents for that. Now Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar explained that although the constitution speaks of the vice president, he is really a chairman of the council of the state. Now here term is that, one thing is that when we talk about the president, for the removal of the president, you will be requiring a special majority. Okay, for the impeachment procedure, you require a special majority. Okay, and then we are talking about the vice president. Is why is that we require an effective majority and not the special majority? Because he is vice president. But the thing is, he is working as a capacity of the chairman of the council of the state, that is Rajya Sabha, and that is why he will be removed like Rajya Sabha. Okay, he will be removed like a chairman of the Rajya Sabha, which is equivalent to the speaker of the Lok Sabha. So removal procedure for the chairman of the Rajya Sabha and the speaker of the Lok Sabha is kind of similar. Okay, so that is why there is a difference in the majority which is required for the president and the vice president. Okay, one more thing I would like to tell you over here is that the initiation for the removal proceedings for vice president, that will be initiated in Rajya Sabha only. Okay, so that is one thing which you can remember. Okay, so the process of removal of vice president and the speaker are kind of similar. Okay, so that is about the removal procedure with respect to the vice president. So what will happen is that in Rajya Sabha you will initiate the proceedings. Okay, then there will be a 14 days notice. Okay, after that, once the 14 days are expired, then there will be a discussion in the you can say house over there. Okay, and then there will be an effective majority which will be used, that is basically majority of the then membership. Okay, once the motion is passed in the you can say Rajya Sabha, it will be sent to Lok Sabha to agreed upon, and for that agreement you will be requiring special majority. So the motion should be passed by the Lok Sabha by a special majority. Then it will be sent to the, you can say then you can say that once both the houses are basically passing the resolutions, and then you can say that the chairman of the Rajya Sabha will be stand removed. Okay, so that is about the removal of the Rajya Sabha chairman. Now moving further, one nation, one election. Okay, this is a very simple concept. We'll be going for the all elections with respect to the Lok Sabha. Okay, and then when we are talking about the state assemblies, okay, these elections will be combined at, or they are happening at the same time or simultaneously. Okay, and after that within some period we will be going for the elections of the panchayat and also of the municipalities. Okay, so this is the idea behind one nation, one election. Okay, now we will be seeing the basic concept, and then we'll be moving to the current issues, or the, you can say, why this was in news. So recently the cabinet has cleared for the putting a bill in the parliament. Okay, so they will be putting a bill with respect to one nation, one election in the, you can say, winter session only. Okay, so let's see. Central idea behind the one nation, one election. The central idea behind the one nation, one election is to synchronize the timing of the Lok Sabha and the state assembly elections across all states to reduce the frequency of the polls throughout the country. Now, why we are looking for reducing the frequency of the polls? Okay, because when we are talking about the frequency of the polls, let's say there is this election which was there in 2024 for the Lok Sabha. After that, in 2025 we have elections for, let's say, Jharkhand or Rajasthan or Maharashtra. Simply speaking, that for example there are elections in these three states. Okay, in 2026 there are elections in some other state. So government is always into the mode of campaigning or for the elections. So when they will work for the governance or the developmental issues. Okay, so considering that if all the elections of all the states and the Lok Sabha are happening in 1 year only, there will be 4 years for which government can work on the governance issues. Okay, so that is why we are looking for the one nation, one elections. This concept was practiced till 1967, but it was disrupted due to the various reasons like defections, dismissals, and the dissolution of the government. Subsequently, due to the defections and the counter defections between the parties, several legislative assemblies has been dissolved during the time of the 1960s. Okay, which eventually led to the separate polls for the Lok Sabha and the state assembly. So earlier till 1967 we had one nation, one election, simultaneous elections was going on. But after that there are various states which has gone for assemblies has been dissolved for various reasons, and because of which the elections has gone out of sync. Now there are few states within which the elections are synced with the Lok Sabha elections. So here you can see a state of Arunachal Pradesh, Sikkim, Andhra Pradesh and Odisha. Their elections are held together with the Lok Sabha elections. Okay, other than that you will be seeing that other state assemblies elections are out of sync with the Lok Sabha elections. Okay, now there was this recommendation which was made by the Law Commission. Here you can see the Law Commission in 1999 advocated one nation, one election. After that, here you can say recently in 2023 there was this a committee which was set up under Ram Nath Kovind. Okay, he is the former president. Under his chairmanship there was this committee which was set up, and it was to suggest how elections to the Lok Sabha assemblies and the municipalities could be held simultaneously, and he has given a report. On the basis of that particular report, the cabinet has drafted a bill. Okay, so here let's see what will happen. Now the obvious question is that how will you make sure that all the timelines are synced? Okay, because there are certain elections which has happened in the state in the recent past, and they will be happening in after some years. Okay, so how will you sync their timelines? So they have said that president will be appointing a date. Okay, that will be called appointed date. Okay, and after that, whatever elections in the assembly are happening, okay, they will be there till the time of 5 years only. From this appointed date, there will be a session of the Lok Sabha. This particular appointed date will be the time of the first session of newly elected Lok Sabha. Okay, so let's say next elections are there in 2029. So they will be appointed a date for the first session of the Lok Sabha. From there will be a time of 5 years till the next election that will be happening in 2034. Okay, and within this 5 years, if there is a state assembly which has been generated because of the elections in the state, that will be there till this particular time only. Okay, now from the next Lok Sabha election, they will have to go for the simultaneous elections. Okay, so here you can see the government must develop a legally tenable mechanism to restore the cycle of the simultaneous poll. For the purpose of synchronizing the Lok Sabha and the assembly polls, the president shall notify the date of first sitting of the Lok Sabha after general elections as appointed date. Okay, so that is appointed date which will be decided by the president. Okay, after that, the tenure of all the state assemblies formed via polls after the appointed date and before the expiry of the full term of the Lok Sabha, okay, will only be there for the period ending up to the subsequent parliamentary polls. Okay, so after this particular timeline, this whatever assemblies which are formed during this 5 years, they will be there till the next election only. After at that point of the elections, all the state will be going for the simultaneous elections with the Lok Sabha. Okay, now fresh elections. Let's say elections were there and then there was this hung assembly or the majority was not there. In that case, or let's say the Lok Sabha was dissolved in between. In that case, there will be fresh elections and Lok Sabha will be there. The newly appointed Lok Sabha will be there for the remaining period of time. Okay, for example, let's see in 2034, we go for the simultaneous elections. Okay, and then in 2035, Lok Sabha is dissolved. Okay, or the state assembly is dissolved. In that case, you will be going for the fresh elections. And at that point of time, whatever newly appointed Lok Sabha or the assembly will be there, that will be there for the remaining period of time. Next elections are bound to happen after 5 years. Okay, so only for the remaining period of time you will be there. So these are the recommendation of the panel which was under the chairmanship of the former president Ram Nath Kovind. Okay, now there are two steps. One step is that you will be going for the simultaneous election for the Lok Sabha and the state assemblies, and within 100 days you have to go for the elections of the municipalities and the panchayats. Okay, so throughout India, within 100 days you will be seeing that first Lok Sabha and the state assembly elections are synchronized, and within 100 days of that, panchayat and municipality elections will also happen. Okay, so this way they will be conducting the simultaneous elections. For that, you have to amend the constitution. So in this particular bill which has been drafted by the cabinet over here, so in that you will be amending few articles, that is article 83 for the which is basically the duration of Lok Sabha. So you have to amend the duration of Lok Sabha to make sure that you have to sync all the elections over here. Then article 82 which pertain to the delimitation, and article 172 which is basically covering the duration of the state assemblies. Okay, so this is about the one nation, one election, how it will be implemented in India. Okay, now let's move further with the test. There are 4 questions for you which you have to attempt and answer to me in the comment box. According to the Place of Worship Act 1991, the religious character of a place of worship must be maintained as it exists on 26 January 1950, 1st January 1950, 15th of August 1947, 14th November 1948. Okay, Next, who has the authority to remove a judge of the Supreme Court or the High Court in India? President of India, Prime Minister of India, Chief Justice of India, or the Parliament of India? Okay. Now, next question. What is the minimum notice period required to initiate a resolution for removal of Vice President? 7 days, 10 days, 14 days, and 21 days. Easy question. Now, the last one is what change is required in the Constitution to implement one nation, one election? Amendment to Article 83, Amendment to Article 74, Amendment to Article 123, Amendment to Article 356. So now you can attempt the questions and answer to me in the comment box. With that, I would like to take your leave. I'll see you in the next episode. Till then, have a good day. Thank you, and please subscribe the channel.
For more informative content, like, share and subscribe, and do not forget to press the bell icon to get the notifications.